Well, nobody's volunteering to go first. So the first step in the program, though, we're going to give each candidate 2 minutes to introduce themselves. So we're going to start with that. I heard Julie saying that we went one way last time, so we should go the other way this time. So that's probably why she sat down on that end, so she could be first. So we'll start on that end just for this introductions. We'll ask Julie to come up and introduce herself. Please.
Good evening, friends and family, and thanks, Ralph, for the brief introduction. My name is Julie Finkmeyer. I'm running in position H as the incumbent for against Johnny Felix. And hey,
Can we
My
still put
traditional
in
name is
questions?
Chapalita, which Taylor. My parents are Robert and Della Finkbeiner, and we have 4 siblings, Robin,
The youth.
Robbo, Bernie, Nadine, Angel, and Ralph.
I'll write it down.
And I'm running in position H with a platform which revolves around the judicial system. That was my initial platform back 3 years ago when I threw my name in the hat.
Yeah.
As well as the self-governance. And amongst other things with treaty rights and such. I'm a commercial fisherman. I grew up in a fishing world. My background entails working in the judicial court area. I have about 15 plus years of management experience. I opened up 2 of our casinos out here, the one at the waterfront, Gooseberry Point, and the Silver Reef. And my goals this upcoming term, if elected, is to continue striving forward for the better interests of my people and to be a good listener and to just keep working for you all. And I'm getting a little bit punky out here all of a sudden. I've got my notes back there. But anyways, I won't take up too much more of the time because I know there's a lot of good things that are going to come forward out of this. And I know that people are going to be looking forward to hearing from the rest of my people that are sitting here on my left. Thank you all for coming here, and Hashikoto Commodity Foods and Communications for the great work.
Good evening. My name's Johnny Felix. I'm in what position we are? H. By the way, I'd just like to thank my family. Without family, with the support, from Melissa, Caitlin, Mariana, trying to figure my kids' names now, Bo, and my baby Carmen. And with my aunts and uncles and close friends, standing by your side, you feel that you accomplish a lot or anything. So without that support, I just want to, thank my family for all that support. Let me see. So yeah, I'm running for council. I was on council a few years ago, or a year ago, and it's like Julie said, our her platform is similar to mine. We worked on the judicial system together. And also economic development. I really strongly believe we need a strong base for economic development to create jobs for our community members. To sustain, our community. To give the jobs and stuff to her. But besides the fact, economic development and the judicial system. I believe in the judicial system that's not too, you're throwing people in jail as much as we do. I believe in a restorative justice way. As well with Julie, we worked on that restorative justice. And but I got 3 seconds left. But I'd just like to thank everybody for coming out, and and I'd like to have a clean, sweet campaign, with nobody, griping at each other. We're all community members. We're all here to represent our tribe in the best way we can. And just like to say that, and thank you guys. And good night.
So Johnny and Julie are running in position H. Notice we got a little mix up in how we're organized here. I'd like to have Shasta and Victor come up, since they're in the same position I. You guys wouldn't mind switching seats. I should have asked you to do that earlier, just so that we have the candidates sitting beside each other. We know who we're choosing between. I'd appreciate that. So next is going to be Shasta Kano Martin, and then Victor Turtle Johnson.
Tongue, good evening. Shasta, Kano Martin, son of Snap. And I learned Lummi language when I went to tribal school, but I'm still relearning, and so I'm going to try to introduce my family by the language. Debbie Lewis Miranda, son of Tan, and Hazel Jefferson, son of Sela, Donald Lewis, Chief Sahumpkin, son of Sela, and those are just an introduction of my mom, Debbie Lewis Miranda. My grandparents were the late Chief Sahumpkin and the late Hazel Jefferson, and my great-grandparents were Anna Cooper Lewis and John Lewis. I'm happily married to Jay Martin Jr. We have 2 children together. I have a 15-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. And it's just my family background. I've felt the honor and privilege of serving on the tribal council this past 3 years. It's been a learning experience for sure. And as I've been talking with community members, it's making me reflect a lot on making sure that our council leadership is carrying out the needs of the people. And there's a lot of ways that the community is not seeing that happen. And part of what I'm recognizing is that we need to be more intentional about communicating with our community and sharing the successes that we have, but also just updating the community. So it looks like my time's up, but Haishka, thank you.
Nautiam, Sotsum, son of Snat. My name is Victor Johnson. Everyone knows me as Turtle. My traditional name is Sotsum. My mom is Andrea Johnson, and my father is Vern Johnson Jr. My grandparents are Earl Thomas and Teresa Thomas. My other grandparents are Mary and Vern Johnson Sr. I've been working for Lummi Natural Resources for the last 15 years. I've had a coffee business in Bellingham for the last 10. I'm a single father, and I really enjoy working for the community in natural resources, and would like to continue working for the community in another venue, and that would be like working in part of the council and moving things forward. Thank you guys for taking the time out. I know it's a busy time of year. Not always easy to gather in the evenings like this, and thank you guys.
Thank you, Victor. So next is position J, Cheryl Sanders, and then Lauren Sullivan.
Good evening. It's good. Thank you all for coming today to listen to our candidates up here. My name is Cheryl Sanders. My new name is Takwotsa. I'm the current vice chairman of the Lummi Nation. I've been the vice chair for 2 years. I want to thank my family, my daughter Sheena Takwotsa, and my son who works for Kamad Squad. Thank you guys for always being here and taking care of the community. Let's give them a round of applause. My son carries the name Takwotsa, and that comes from my grandmother, from the Morris side of the family. That's how we're tied into different relationships in the community. My mother was Mary Kinley. My dad was Good Kinley, who was the admiral of the commercial fleet out here. He was one of the warriors to win the fight for your treaty rights for fishing. Also, I've been a nurse for many years. When I was on the council and when I wasn't on the council. I already got 1 minute? Wow. Okay, and I apologize for not being here the last debate. My sister Cindy had a bad accident in April, and so I was in Harborview with her getting her last discharge, and she's on her road to recovery now, so that's very good news for her and us. But my platform's always been healthcare, elders, restorative justice. One of the goals I have this year, if reelected, is to work on public health, because I know public health means different to each one of us, but it all weaves together, from economic development to housing, to natural resources, to culture, to education. So that's kind of a little bit of story about me. Thank you.
Siam, Nishchalache Siam, Itzat Salaluch, Itzat Siatlam, Haichgat Quanasanat Tajo, Isuitzin, Ohila Quanas Langnuk Tia Nishchalache, Itaitzin Tletzatina Quelia. My dear people, elders and respected women, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming here tonight. My hands go up to you. Haichgat Siam. I want to thank LIBC for hosting the 2016 Candidate Forum. Lamy Communications, thank you for stepping forward once again, helping out, setting up the candidate debates. I want to thank the cooks for preparing a beautiful meal, showing your teachings, preparing with a good heart and a good mind. Happy to be here alongside my good friend and relative, Cheryl. I always had a lot of respect for Cheryl and all the other council members. Thank you to all the veterans of Post 33. Thanks for your service. Also thanking my young relative, Anthony Dakota, and all the other active duty soldiers, sailors, and Marines. We salute you. This evening we'll be addressing issues and problems we have here in Lummi. We'll be discussing issues and have detailed proposals to solve our issues. So glad that all of us here, we care so much about our nation. And we sit here with the same goals in mind, is to help our nation, to help our people. We have struggles and challenges here in Lummi. As a team, as a council, we'll be able to put our minds together with the next 7 generations in mind and come up with solutions like our ancestors have done for us. Since 1855, we've came a long ways. We are the survivors of the Great Flood. Lummi people, we have overcame many obstacles, and we are still here today, and we are still the survivors. Thank you, Lawrence, sorry. Next is Cheryl Williams and Stephen Toby in position K.
Good evening, I'm Sherry Williams. For those of you who may not be totally familiar with me, my parents here, I should go back to my grandparents. My grandmother was born on Orcas Island in 1892, along with her mother. Her grandmother came from Lake Sammamish there below Mount Rainier. My grandfather came from Simyamu. His mother came from Simyamu. They were taken here onto the reservation at a very young age. They married each other when they were 16 years old, and they got married the day they met. And so I'm very proud of my family roots. My mother was Mary Plaster. By the way, my grandfather Felix was one of the first councilmen on there. My mother was on the council for many years. Often she was just a part of the general council. Back then they weren't paid, but in 1952 I was super young, and we moved to Seattle. And so my mom and my father, who raised me, Jim Plaster, he worked for Alaska Airlines, but they spent a lot of time developing what we have today, the Northwest Indian Fish Commission and all of the Seattle Indian Center. I have their picture in the very first Indian Center that they developed with the other urban Indians, that they were always home here. And so, even my father was Alex Camcroft. He spent 6 years. He was the tribal council chairman for a number of years also. And so I kind of grew up around the table learning about all of the tribal, it was suffering back then. We were so poor. And actually, I have to say today, I met some young man with a family and a wife, and they're very happy, but they don't even have gas money to come here tonight. And that really breaks my heart that people here are struggling that much, and they're clean and sober too. And so I have a lot of relatives here. My grandfather Felix, his sister Margaret, married, they're the Wilsons, the Casmers, sister Josephine, the Schultz family, and sister Mary, and Reedy, and then the Blues, Anna Blue. So I have a lot of relatives in the community, and I really believe that we, anyway, that's kind of where I am and where I come from. So thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want to thank Ralph for facilitating tonight's forum and communications, and the Commod Squad for a great meal again. So thank you guys all. And I want to thank my grandson for being here. I see him up in the crowd. Just makes my day, that guy. And my family, my sister, my nieces and nephews, and my son, and his girlfriend. Thank you for being here. My name is Stephen Toby, son to the late Luella and Burl Toby. I got a son named Logan and a grandson named Logan that I cherish very much. I guess, to be up here, I think about being on the waters, with our elders, and that I don't see too many today. Like Bob Finkbonner, spent many days on the water with those guys, and listening to them back then, or I thought I was listening back then, but in hearing all the things we're going through today on our fishing rights, and even being on the water, just in our terminal area, it's getting tough to be out there fishing and crabbing. Now we got crabs to be going down, so it's, there's a lot of issues we're seeing on the paper. The last time there was a whole list of issues that we have to deal with as councilmen and programs, and holding those programs to why we designed them is the most important thing, because it's about our community, and to work on, when we build something that we say what we're going to spend on something that we build, we need to stay within that. And when we build something, we need to come with a plan beforehand and not after the fact, because it causes too much reduction in our budgets and stuff. And that's it, I guess. Thank you.
Getting the hook there. Like we were talking about at the last forum, council isn't about one issue or 10 issues or even 100 issues. Every one of those 100 issues has 4 or 5 sub-issues. And so last time, we let the candidates pick which issues they were going to talk about, the ones that they knew or that they were interested in. This time we want to challenge them more, and we'll tell them what issue we want them to talk about and what their thoughts are on those issues. So like I said earlier, each pair of candidates has been given a list of questions. There's 27 questions on 3 pages. Only when communication tells us will we know which ones we're going to ask. And I don't know why they're numbered like they are. For those who can't see the pages, That's to keep us on our toes, so we know which one's going. Does any pair want to volunteer to go first? All right. Well, thank you, John. Good for you. Well, we've already gotten the high sign from communications. They want us to ask question number 2. And so
22.
I.
Ralph,
Huh?
22.
Oh, 22. Oh, that's a hard one, Bob. That's a real hard one. So here's the question for everyone who can't see it. What is sovereignty? What is sovereignty? That can be a really challenging question. If you asked everyone in here, you'd probably get 200 different answers. So I'll let you guys decide who's going to go first. The first person gets 2 minutes. The second person gets 2 minutes. And then the first person gets 1 minute rebuttal. And then on the next question, they'll change.
What's the question? Okay, sovereignty, that's always a tough question. The sovereignty, to me, Lummi Nation's a sovereign nation. I always believe that we're a government within a government. We have our own judicial system, our own laws, our own school. We govern ourselves. As a sovereign nation, we protect that. By protecting that, we do go back to DC. We do, we work with the state, but we also work with the federal government as well. The sovereignty part is, I think I had a good, should write notes down, but should have went first. So to me, that's what sovereignty is. It's just that we govern ourselves and we make sure that we uphold our laws, our judicial system, but I guess I'm going to rebuttal and see what Julie has to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Tribal sovereignty to me is, well, for us as Lummi people, it allows the tribes to govern themselves, to define our own memberships, to manage our tribal properties, and to regulate our own tribal businesses and domestic relations. It further allows us to regulate everything that surrounds us out here in Lummi Nation. It recognizes the existence of the government-to-government relationships that we have with the federal government and between tribes and state and county jurisdictions. Sovereignty to me, it just allows us to govern ourselves. It is the tribal sovereignty that also coincides with the self-determination as well, which led us to become a self-governance tribe. So that's what sovereignty means to me. Hashtag.
Now I got a rebuttal on that. But, I think both me and Julie are, kind of said the same thing. You know, and that's what council is about. You know, we're about our codes, our policies. You know, we're the ones that help, or we are the ones that help pass everything to govern ourselves. So that, you know, that's council's responsibility and our role. You know, and I think sometimes that you know, we just have to take responsibility and commitment to our codes and policies, because, you know, that's what governs us. That's what regulates us. That's what keeps us who we are. So with that, you know, I think we both agreed on what sovereignty is, and but thank you.
That was good timing. Good luck, John. So next, we're gonna, just so you know what we're gonna do, we will work our way down the table, but on the second round of questions, we're gonna start with Shasta and Victor, so they'll go first on the second round of questions. So just to kind of mix it up, so it doesn't have to be the same people going first every time. So Shasta and Victor will be next for position I. And the question that they're going to answer is question number 5. If elected to council, what can you do for the youth and elders? If elected to council, what can you do for the youth and elders? Which of you would like to go first?
So, because I am the incumbent in position I feel that the work would continue in terms of supporting youth and elders. Some of the ways that I've tried to be supportive to youth and elders in the past, or, you know, during my term, has been working with young people going on canoe journey. And before that, working with young people at the Lummi Cedar Project and the Youth Leadership Training Curriculum, and using peacemaking circles as a tool to communicate with elders and young people, and bridging together both of those sectors of our community. And some of the other ways that I've tried to be supportive to youth and elders is through the arts. Every first Saturday of every month at the Lummi Titisen Center, there's an art and small business event that happens at the multipurpose room. So trying to open up opportunities for everyone. The other way that I feel that I can help our community is by leading by example, and I've shared this before. It's hard to ask somebody to do something if you're not willing to do it yourself. And so if we're going to ask our young people to learn the Lummi language, I have to be willing to learn the Lummi language. If I'm going to ask them to be clean and sober, I have to model that myself. And so that's one of the ways that I feel like I can help youth and elders. Haishka, thank you.
Okay, the way that I would probably do it would be keep on promoting some of the things that we've got going on in the tribe. We've got places for our people to be. So like some of our youth have started taking advantage of our skate park. We should promote more of our skate parks, more of our youth going up to go snowboarding and skiing. We definitely need to get nights where we get some of our elders back together with some of our youth to promote our culture and also protect it for the future. The way we do that, we hold more community events at night because students are going to school during the day, and one of the other things that we can do is try and set up more programs that like I was fortunate enough to go through NASA Sequest during the summer. And that was always one of the benefits that I've had as a youth growing up in this area, to also promote education throughout this community. I think we should definitely start pumping some more effort into getting our youth and elders together and promoting some of our culture and protecting it for the future. Thank you.
I think just as the 1 minute rebuttal, I definitely feel like, yes, we can support existing services that are happening for our youth and elders, and just be intentional about communicating those efforts with the community, because the resources that we do put towards that, getting some feedback on the successes, just to kind of list, again, some of the ways that I've worked with youth and elders, supported young people and hosted a lunch at the LIBC for the young people that were involved in the Generation Indigenous Project initiative through the Obama administration, and those going involved with the Unity program, and helping support young people that are trying to raise funds for travel to experience those things and leadership. One of the ways that I've tried to help elders is through partnership with the Lummi Day School and making sure that the the elders were heard in terms of having a secure spot at the Lummi Day School at North Wesleyan College. And my time is up, but
Thank you, Shasta and Victor. So next we have position J, Cheryl and Lawrence. This should be an interesting question. It's number 17 on the 3rd page. Should Lummi Nation explore options to legalize medical marijuana? Why? Should Lummi Nation explore options to legalize medical marijuana? Why? Who wants to take that first?
Okay, as the current incumbent in this position, we did have the discussion with the general counsel. I believe it was in January of this year. The community had brought it forward. And I continue to support the discussion of the community and the general counsel advising the council on this decision. Thank you.
Good evening. Should Lummi explore to legalize marijuana? Well, we can explore it. We would definitely take a look at it to see what are the positives. What are the positive things that it might bring to our community? And, for me, myself, if we did explore it, I try to promote a clean and sober community as much as I can. So I don't think that we should legalize marijuana here in Lummi Nation. Thank you.
I support what Lawrence is saying. It is a personal decision. It's a real controversial issue in the country today. As a nurse, the medicinal part of marijuana is very important for healing and for when our people are suffering and passing on to the other side. I've personally helped some friends and family to help ease pain, to help them be able to, it's just the medicinal part of it will bring the value if the community explores that. And I think that was the discussion, because it's used so many different ways, but we have to have all the information so we can make an informed decision with the best information we have today, and not make it personal for the community. Right now, it's illegal by the codes. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl and Lawrence. So next is Sherry and Stephen for position number K. We're going to be asking question number 20, which is actually on the first page. What can you share about your knowledge and or concerns about the rampant drug use in Lummi? What can you share about your knowledge and or concerns about the rampant drug use in Lummi?
I would like to share with you that I did spend 9 years on the council prior, and we had to address a lot of the drug situations that were happening on the Lummi Reservation. And the drug dealing, it was really getting way out of hand. And I did spend 20 years working in the tribal accounting office. I saw our first alcoholism and drug counselors, even Mr. and Mrs. Washington, Buck Washington, and Marion and Leonard. And, you know, we have had this type of a support program, at least as far as since I started working for the tribe in 1970. However, what we're experiencing today is much, much more serious. The drugs that are coming out today, they are harmful to the point where the people can become permanently mentally unstable. The children that they are having, drug-born babies, they can't quit shaking. They're not normal. They can't quit crying. To take a drug-born baby is so sad because you have to take them down to a hospital south of here, maybe Everett or Seattle. And it'll cost over $50,000 to detox the baby, if that or more. So the knowledge and the concern is we have to do something different. I know several years ago, we were spending $23 million a year on the drug situation, whether it be the policemen, the jail costs, the drug rehab people, the court time it took, the prosecutor. I mean, you could go on and on. It takes a community to change this. So that's my knowledge and concern, and we need to fix it. Thank you.
Well, I don't think we don't have a family that's exempt from this problem. I know that. I think it runs rapid through all of our families. And for me and my family, if they were dealing drugs or doing something bad on drugs, I know our family wouldn't tolerate it. We would turn them in or whatever we had to do. But one thing our mother taught us was to, no matter what any one of our family members are going through, is to just love them. There's a lot of things that Lummy's doing since I got on, with the opiate or the Suboxone clinic open. So, and back then I look at that and see it now. Back then, there wasn't too many fishermen back then, you know, and then, you know, fishing in the river or even in the bay and the pass here, and, you know, people start coming in and getting well and wanting to get well. And that was just, you know, that's the upside to that stuff. And you gotta support that stuff and support our people. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
I want to thank Skimmer for the comment of, I think no family has gone untouched by this problem. I think my other concern is we have just finished the budgeting process for next year, and we're all concerned about how are we going to control this cost so we can diminish our spending into this area. And it's really up to you people. That's why you're here tonight. You are here to help manage your government. You're here to select people to control what happens, what kind of an environment do we want to live in? Are we safe leaving our homes? The drug people. My husband always said, good people, they just fell into a bad habit. You take that habit away and they're good people. And we know that's true. And we want to look at the good in people. And we, fellow council leaders, want it to happen. And thank you very much.
Okay. That concludes our first round of questions, one of 3. For the second round, rather than just make Johnny and Julie go first, we're going to have Shasta and Shirley go first. And as Julie just announced to everyone, it's going to be question number 27. Hold on here. Here we go. What are you most proud of the tribe for? How would you keep the tribe strong? It's a 2-part question. What are you most proud of the tribe for? And how would you keep the tribe strong? Who went first last time? Shasta, so Victor's first this time.
The thing I'm most proud of that our tribe is we're resilient. We've been around for years. We've been fighting the good fight. We've not given up on a lot of things. And a lot of that's just proven just recently with Cherry Point. We have not given up on our treaty. We have not given up on our rights as a people. I think this is one of the things that also has kept us strong. The tribe has stuck together through thick and thin. We are going to get through a lot of situations that are out here one step at a time. I think a lot of people don't want to A lot of people don't see that within government because government takes so much time to get through all of the hoops and things. But overall, the tribe has survived and we're growing. I think that's one of the things that I'm most proud of. How would I keep the tribe strong? That's a tough one. I think that the tribe just needs to learn how to stick together a little bit closer. We're working on it. And one of the things that we're really good at is holding these community dinners and holding these community events. And I think if we got more people involved in these situations, that we can keep going together. I'm very proud of all of the infrastructure that we've got going on in the tribe. We've got a new tribal community building, or tribal community office that has put all of our resources in one spot. So you don't have to continuously get told, oh yeah, you want to get this, you got to go down the street. And you got to go, oh, once you get that signature, you got to go down the other street. Now we're all within one building. So this is, the tribe is growing, and we're just trying to keep up with that. Thank you.
Well, I totally agree. The one thing that I'm most proud of is Lummi Nation stepping up and protecting our sacred sites and making sure that we know our own history and culture and making sure that our values are what's guiding us in our decision making. Part of how I would keep that going is continuing the work that we've done with the Cochiacan operations team. And I think a lot of people are quick to rest their hat on this decision with the Army Corps, but there are other industrial threats. And part of the work that we're trying to do is to make sure that those threats don't continue to threaten our sacred site of Cochiacan and other sacred sites as well. The other thing that I'm most proud of is that Lummi always steps up despite any differences. We can see that when Lummi has a stake in something, they put all of their own personal differences aside to fight that battle. And we've led the way in many things, including self-governance and making sure that our voice is heard. And we are being an example to the folks at Standing Rock because of the stance we took with treaty rights at Cochiacan. And also, I'm really proud of our history of Lummi fishermen to get us to where we're at today, because I've been told, the stories of how our fishermen, dedicated and donated their time. And I think that's another thing that I'm most proud of being Lummi is that we have a trait of helping one another and coming together and making sure that our families are taken care of. And part of keeping things going is making sure that our children are educated the way that we want them to be educated, and healing and dealing with the historical trauma that has happened with our people, and using peacemaking circles as an opportunity to do that. So thank you.
Kind of got nervous there, trying to rush through all that thinking. I had a chance to sit down, and I also got to think about, yes, the fishermen that fought for Bolt. We're not afraid to go to court. That's one of the things that has helped the tribe move forward and build a lot of these things. We weren't afraid to rally against a lot of against the state. So we brought Bolt 2 back to the decision there. We won in the Culverts case, and that's one of the things that we really use our treaty for our advantage. This was something that I'm really proud of that the tribe is doing. Before my time's up, thank you.
Thank you, Shasta and Turtle. So next we have Cheryl and Happy, and they're gonna get question number 14. Where do you see our tribe going, or where would you like to see our tribe go in 10 years and in a year? Again, it's a two-part question. Where do you see our tribe going, and where would you like to see our tribe in 10 years and in a year?
Where do I see our tribe going? I see our tribe still being strong, still here, standing up against the drugs and alcohol. I see our community here. Sorry. I wanted to talk about where I see us in 10 years. In 10 years, I think that Lummi Nation will be really successful and we'll be a leading example to other tribes. Like the example you heard was about Standing Rock. Us winning that decision against the Gateway Pacific Terminal, it sets something for other tribes. In our tribe, we're so strong here, we have strong leaders. And that's where I see us in 10 years. And the second part, I forget what the second part is. Where do I see the tribe in 1 year? In 1 year, if I'm elected, I see our education blossoming in our schools here, in the Lummi Nation School, and what we provide for our students after high school, into college, looking into the future. That's where I see us in 1 year, high school student.
Thank you, Happy. That was really a good segue. First of all, 10 years goes really fast. I've been on the council now for finishing my third term. And the work that we're doing is we're finishing the work of our leaders from the past. We're taught to finish the work before you start anything new. So that's what I applaud the leaders that we have currently and thank them for not trying to change things so fast, because we have to take our people with us. So in 10 years, I know we're going to be a stronger nation. I know that we're going to be so resilient as we are with teaching our children on building them on their strengths. My grandson is 10 years old now. I promised him a safe and healthy community. 10 years went fast, but that doesn't mean we don't keep going on and on. And a lot of people can disagree with me with my approaches. A lot of people have different views, but come and talk to me so that you can tell me where you want our leadership to go. You know, I don't have social media, but I hear about it. But the way I was taught was come and sit and visit. You don't put stuff on Facebook because you don't agree with the tribal leaders. Come and talk to us so we can have that conversation. I remember I got elected 1 year, and it was a really tough election. I walked out of that room and they said, they're going to recall you. I don't want to ever see us in that position again. And I tell my young leaders that sit up here with me, and some of you are in the room, don't divide our community. Stay strong, because it's about us, all of us, not just you. So that's what I was taught, and that's where I want to be, is to continue to move forward together in 10 years. And in 1 year, I'll let you know.
Yeah. 2 minutes goes pretty fast. finishing our leaders, what they have done for us in the past. I agree with Cheryl. You know, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our past leaders. So we need to do the same thing for our future, our grandkids, our great-grandkids. Prepare our nation for the future. And preserving, promote, and protect our resources that we have. And I agree with Cheryl and what she said. And the young people not changing so fast. And yes, we want to continue moving forward. It's something that Lummi people do. I call it the Lummi movement. We keep it moving forward together. We're paddling together. So us as a team, us as a community, we come together like this. Hashka.
Thank you, Cheryl and Lawrence. Next, in position K, Stephen Toby and Sherry Lee Williams. You guys get kind of a softball question. Number 13, I'm kidding. This is one where there could be a lot of different answers. Why are you running for council? And what plans do you have to help our community? Why are you running for council? And what plans do you have to help our community? And Stephen's first this time.
That one's always a tough one to answer because I get asked that quite a few times. You know, and I really haven't come up with a good answer, but other than to just, you know, to say support our community and be a voice for our community. But for, you know, the plans for our community, I look at all the programs that we have and how big some of them are. And the one that grabs me the most is our Public Works Department. And I look around the res and look, we have the Squamish grounds, we have the Cove area, we have the river, we have the cemetery, we have all these things that, you know, we can develop a parks and rec for, that could be under Public Works. You know, there's the maintenance part. You look at all the facilities, the high-tech facilities we have now, the sewer plant. You know, so it's just creating jobs for our community that to give stability, because fishing ain't there anymore like it used to be. And that's one of the things that we need to do, but we gotta keep fishing alive because that's who we are. And the other thing is our youth. We gotta give our youth an opportunity, just do things for them, you know. Get the people to think, you know, outside the box and create things for them. Give them some place to go, something to do, travel. We all travel, you know. We gotta get them out into the world and explore and give them opportunities.
The reason I'm running for council is, if you've read my article in the Squawk Wall, the council passed a recent resolution creating the Economic Development Commission with a charter and bylaws. I am the chairman of the Economic Development Commission, and that is a huge undertaking, given that we are responsible for the Lummi Nation's economic development and individual families' economic development, and we are developing our codes, our plans. I have written a 9-page work plan on how we're going to do that. I also work on the Culture Commission for a number, well, since 1988, I was appointed by the council. And currently, we're expanding that Culture Commission into what people do here. The language teachers, Ferndale School District wants more Lummi language cultural leadership teachers in January, and they just had more added in September. And so our youth are becoming a more vibrant part of our Culture Commission. The other thing that I do with the Culture Commission is with the Northwest Indian College, the elders areas that are appointed there, and I'm also appointed to the Budget Committee through the Culture Commission. Work with Selena there, and we're going to be in her presentation next week. I'm also elected to the Water and Sewer Board for, I don't know, 8 or 10 years. I just signed up again. I expect to be elected to be on your Water and Sewer Board. That is extremely important. You got to keep the water and sewer going. We just did that $12 million project out at Sandy Point. We had a $4.8 million MBR plant going out there, and I try to attend the head of households, and I did work in the accounting office for 20 years. I know how federal government money does operate and how we need to go get that money for us, especially from the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, and the Department of Commerce. There's money out there for us to do things, and we should go get it. It's our treaty rights. Thank you.
I guess there's so much work going on in our community now that, you know, the 11 councilmen work on, and just being there to support them doing something for our community would be the other thing that I would do, be supportive for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen and Sherry. The last question in round 2 goes to Johnny and Julie in position H. And this question is question number 23, which reads really more like a statement than a question. Budgets are being cut in departments that greatly help the community. I said it's a statement, so I guess we get to respond to that. Budgets are being cut in departments that greatly help the community. Johnny went first last time, so this time let's do it. Just so the candidates know, we're going to take a little break after this round, for the third round of questioning. Give you guys 5 minutes to catch your breath, powder your nose, whatever you need to do.
Budgets are being cut in departments that greatly help the community. That's a very straightforward comment, and it's a hard comment at that. This past year, when our council had to cut a lot of the departments, or budgets, I should say, we had to reduce our budget by $4 million, and then we wanted to turn around and reallocate $2 million back into the services that would help our community. It was unfortunate that we had to cut our budgets, and we had to cut some of the services that helped our people. I don't think it was of any fault of today, last year, the year before, but I believe it all stems from the budgets and the revenues that the tribe had like 10 years ago. I mean, it's like a trickling effect of our economy, and unfortunately, it affected our casino, and that's where the majority of our revenues come from. And so I think that we have expanded and grown so much, but when the times change with the economy, we have to go with those times, and we either fluctuate high end or low end. We did cut back on services. It wasn't intentionally. I know there was a lot of frustration out there for us because of the fact, and I'm just going to put it up as this council's paid positions now, and we were being targeted from that perspective, and I totally respect the concerns for people. Hands up.
You keep looking at this and looking at it. You know, the budgets, just like Julie said, I think that the government grew so fast when the upcoming of the casino, and I think some of the duplications of the services, I think the council did a very good job to kind of reduce, some of the budgets and the services and combined them, and more or less trying to do a wraparound services with a lot of the remaining services. It was, for being previous on council, it's always very hard to look at, the budgets and having to make sure they're accountable, making sure your departments are accountable for those budgets. And I remember when I was on council, we were talking about performance-based budgeting. I still really believe in performance-based budgeting based upon that it's a mechanism to show, basically speaks for itself, performance-based budgeting. And so, with all that, I think the council did a very good job of reducing some of these budgets and collaborating to make them hopefully wraparound services. Thank you.
Johnny brought up a good point when he mentioned the performance-based budgeting. It's a tool that measures each department and holds them accountable. I know Bobby Thompson, our former GM, he was a big supporter of the performance-based budgeting, and I too as well think it would be an awesome tool to use and would benefit to measure the services, for example, to be provided by the commodity foods, behavioral health, treatment, our LIBC care programs, any type of social services out there. And it's unfortunate that some of those areas were cut, but if we were to implement the performance-based budgeting, then we could use that to measure how successful and how many families were touched by that. For example, like the commodity foods, I know that we cut slightly there, and then we cut other areas, and if we measure the successes, then we would be cutting in those services. Thank you.
All right, good job, Johnny and Julie. So, like I said earlier, we're going to take a 5-minute break. I've been texting back and forth with Julie with the people's indulgence. I'd like to ask the candidates if they would put up with us changing the agenda slightly, offer them another 2 minutes each to just talk about what they want to do as council people after the third question. And so before the community asks questions. I don't know why we call it that, because all of these questions came from the community, we didn't make them up. But we're gonna actually have one of the community members stand up and ask a question that's not on the list. But if you guys would like to, we're suggesting that we do 2 minutes more each, so you talk more about why you're running for council. Is that all right? Okay, so we're gonna take a 5-minute break, come back and ask the third round of questions. We'll give each of them 2 minutes to do another response, or open response, and then we'll have the question from the community. Aishka, 5 means 5, not a council 5. I need help, Julie, I need some help with the question. I don't know why, but I wrote down 28, and there is no 28. We got Oh, wow, that was sneaky. Okay, so this is a Lummi youth who's come forward and wants to ask this question. And so Cheryl and Lawrence get this without even being able to get to read it. What does youth prevention mean to you? What does youth prevention mean to you? That's the question. Who went first last time? All right.
Thank you for the question. Well, I was a youth rec director for several years before I came on the council. And we talked about with the kids, the young people, about different opportunities they have to participate in different activities as Turtle and Happy will discuss with the canoe, with the skateboarding. That's how we got the skateboard park. We continue to support the healthy lifestyles with the children. One of the things that is really important for the future is nutrition. So we have a food sovereignty work group that's working on bringing forward the healthy foods for our community. That's prevention. And the way I look at it personally as a grandma and as an auntie is giving you the tools to live healthy lifestyles. And we know that prevention is expensive. Prevention it's very costly to shift things over, but the return on that investment is long-term savings for our families and our children's healthcare in the future. Because what we know with trauma-informed care is that if we don't get in front of the issues with our children with prevention and healthy lifestyles, which includes education, culture, language. That's what I believe youth prevention is. But I'm encouraged to hear what you want to share with the council of your definition of youth prevention. Thank you.
Okay, what does youth prevention mean to you? I agree with what Cheryl says about the skate park. We need to invest in our youth to keep them off the drugs and alcohol. We need to have a safe place for them to be. Our community events is a good example. You know, we just had the Slackmish Days. That was a really good example. The whole community was here, and it was safe and drug-free. And also food sovereignty, I agree with that also, and living healthy lifestyles. Youth prevention to me is our culture. For example, we have a group at the school, the Lummi Nation School Blackhawk Singers, and it reinstills pride in our kids. And they're proud of who they are and where they come from. And this also prevents suicides. And another example of youth prevention is the canoe journey. So the canoe journey, the kids go out and they paddle to other destinations, and they're all together, practicing our cultural ways. Powwows, and the Lummi Youth Canoe Family. The Lummi Youth Canoe Family is a good example of what youth prevention is. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Happy. I will continue to support everything that Happy has said and what he has shown by example out here to offer for our children for prevention. But I would encourage the youth to step forward to the tribal council to give us your definition, because we're adults, and if we don't listen to what's working. But I know I have a lot of hope for our youth. When I was at ATI a couple weeks ago, there was a TV up on the screen, and I looked over, and there was one of our young people standing next to Obama. So I know we're doing something right, and that gives me so much hope. We have a young woman running for legislation to now. And I know we're doing great things for our youth. That includes including everybody, because I know on tribal council, when they come to ask for support, we want to be fair and equitable to all of our children. And that's something I hold near and dear to my heart. Thank you.
Thank you both, well said. I'm gonna interject one thing just for people to think about. I read a study done by a university recently that said the thing that affects, is the most preventative for youth, is parental involvement. Just think about that. Talk about that more some other time. So next, we're gonna have Sherry and Stephen, and they're gonna talk about question number 7. Regarding employment, do you support Lummi preference and other tribal preference? Explain. Again, it's regarding employment. Do you support Lummi preference and other tribal preference? Explain.
Thank you, Ralph. I'd like to refer back to our tribal council way back when the tribe had zero money. They had zero employment. And then along came the development of our aquaculture, the construction. Our own people had their own trucks. We had families here with big dump trucks building our own aquaculture. We had road workers, and that was the beginning of where our tribal leaders, they wanted our own people benefiting from what they had done. They had developed all of this development, planting the seeds of our nation to grow. They weren't paid. They did this on their own time. They did this on their own money, and they wanted their children and their grandchildren to benefit from what they did. And the personnel policy, I see even Juanita, she was our personnel director a while back. I mean, Lummi preference, that's what it means. We learned that at a very young age, that this is money given to the Lummi Nation, that our leaders went out and they fought for this money, they lobbied for this money, they battled other tribes for this money. We were the first self-governance tribe to ever start self-governance for employment and growth for our people. Myself, I wrote the financial portion of how we would manage our money if Congress gave it directly to the tribes. And so other tribal preference is really important, because there's so many of us, we can't vary in our own tribe a lot, and we need to employ other people. And so thank you very much.
On the construction side of this question, you know, that's this past year, along with the Terrell Commission, they rewrote the code, the Title 25 code, to make these kind of things happen from the get-go. And all along through that code, you know, in the past, it does require contractors to come out and train our people. So that's one of the requirements. And then we have so many people that work construction and, at journeyman level that need to be working, even for our construction company. They got to put our people to work. And for the, for our administration side, we have so many people with their education now. I can't remember the last count that we had that had bachelor's and master's degree. It was a lot 3 or 4 years ago that I seen, and some of them can't even get a job out here. So going through the hiring process out here, we gotta hold the line there and open those jobs up so that our people can go to work. We have some very, high level jobs that we have to have, or some of them have non-tribal members there or non-Indians there, that if they're doing a great job for our community and have compassion for our people and make sure our people are taken care of, I'll support that too. But our people are first. It should be first at all times.
Thank you, Stephen. I want to thank everyone for staying this late, and it is that important that we employ our own people, and we have that Indian preference or other Indian preference in our policy now. And I know sometimes I wonder, I think we have people that are Lummi tribal members or other tribal members that could fill some of the jobs we have now. I really believe that. And it's because our elders fought so hard for this money that we have. Our self-governance money is just that, self-governance money, employment. This fishing year, crabbing, the seafood is not there. We are going to have tough times this winter. We don't have enough resources to cover our social services programs. We need to look closely at the jobs we have and make sure we employ our own people. Thank you.
Thank you both. So next, in position H, Johnny, Felix, and Julie Finkbonner will answer this question. Number 9. What are your thoughts and goals on expanding tribal businesses on the reservation? What are your thoughts and goals on expanding tribal businesses on the reservation? Something you both know about.
Thoughts and goals on expanding tribal businesses on the reservation. So, we have an economic development department, and I really strongly believe that, when you start working with the small business, the entrepreneurs, and to have the classes, to have the, the know-how of trying to get these businesses up and running, and it's just, I've already mentored and tried to help people in their small businesses in our community, because to me, it gives back a self-worth when it's your own business. When it's your own business, that's yours. You can't change that. And and to be able to have that, but also to be able to expand the businesses you already have, to to get them to the next level of business. You know, if it's construction, is it landscaping, is it being a seafood developer, you know, is it, you know, so all these things, I think that, you know, because it's so difficult to try to figure out as a small business to get to that next level. You know, it's scary, it's everything, you know, but with the help of the tribe to help us, the small businesses get to the next level, I think that it's just going to create more revenue, more people out to explore into small businesses and to and knowing that the tribe is going to have their back, is to be able to get to that next level, but to also start the small business. Thanks.
Thank you, Johnny. We just recently created an economic development commission to help our economic development department expand on future businesses for the nation. Right now, we currently have the casino, as we all know, and we have our stores and out here and then out at Gateway. Our next biggest goal for the nation now in the works is developing of a fuel station out on the I-5 corridor, the property that we just recently was able to put into trust in the last couple of years, or during this term while I've been sitting here. We also have future plans for not just there with the fuel station, but as well as a big plan for the Salish, I believe it's called Salish Village, which will entail a lot of other businesses for the nation. I also think that I'm a firm believer in entrepreneurship. I grew up in a family that owned many businesses, from beauty, cosmetology, restaurants, even cigarette sales to construction company, and more recently my dad's beef on a shellfish business, which my brother Robin manages. And so I'm a firm believer in that. I think if we could support other tribal members to expand, like, you know, to start their own businesses like Mr. Masanas has with his yard keeping and agriculture type work. I think we should allow our people to take on responsibilities such as maintenance programs, maintain our properties out here, and housekeeping, and so on and so forth. I'm a huge supporter of economic development in businesses, small businesses too large, and it creates lots of jobs. That's what we want to do. Thanks.
So I know that we are also, you know, the tribe is, you know, we've been working in that way of direction. You know, there's a CDFI program, which, you know, helps out a lot for economic, you know, for our small businesses. You know, it's a loan development, but it's not just loan development, it's also classes. It's also how do you, business planning. It's, so, you know, we have some mechanisms already for small business, and it's always, you know, but what can we do more? You know, and I think that as a tribal member, but also as a tribal member, that we could, you know, there's a lot more that we could do, you know, on council or economic development director, or, you know, there's, I mean, there's just, you know, sky's the limit when it comes to small business. You know, the small businesses that created in your community is, you know, it's the heart. You know, those are the guys that keep going.
One more question for Victor Johnson and Shasta Kano Martin. This is question number 15. What would you consider a concern in our tribe right now? And what steps will you take to help as a newly elected council member? What would you consider a concern in our tribe right now? And what steps will you take to help as a newly elected council member? Great question for these two. They're both people of action. Who's first?
Thank you. This is a good question. Just like I mentioned before, talking with people in the community, I think we see a lot of concerns that need to be addressed, and the steps, I guess, in taking is, again, communicating with our people about what is happening within Lummi Nation and making sure we get proper support from our community to make those changes. One of the things that I've told people all along is that not one council leader can make a difference within Lummi Nation. And even with the 11 council members, we need the support of the community. So one of the major concerns that I see is what was brought up earlier is the drug and alcohol issue and the health of our community. It doesn't matter how much money we have if our people aren't well, and if we're not taking care of ourselves and each other. And there's been a real shift in our values, focusing on the government model to help our people, when we know that our own culture and values help guide us in the best direction that we can go. And just, I know that other council members are touching on it and are making it their focus for this upcoming, but one of the things that I've tried to do is promote healing circles and peacemaking circles to help deal with the trauma that has impacted our community. And it's not to say that any of those things that happen to us is our fault, but starting on that healing journey. And one of the things that I've been working with is a Seattle group and using peacemaking circles as an alternative to going through the judicial courts and having families and community come together to find a way to help our people. And my time is up, but thank you.
One of the things that I like, that I see as a concern for our tribe is natural resources isn't even on the priority list for the tribe, when the tribe is really founded on natural resources. And so is the council. The council was founded all on natural resources because we were fighting for one thing, our right to fish. That was one of the main things that I would like to push forward as a new elected council member, to get natural resources back towards number one. We need to pull it, and it will pull everything else back up with it. Right behind natural resources comes culture. Our culture is natural resources. But if you don't have the natural resources, what are we fighting for? We have nothing. How can we be the salmon people if we do not have salmon? That's one of the things that is always on my mind. That was one of the things that my father always talked about when I was a kid. We need the water. How are you gonna be resilient if you don't have clean water? How are you gonna continue as a people? Where are you gonna get these things from? What are the consequences if we do not fight for our natural resources? We have nothing. But if we continue in the direction that we are, we can build all of these things back together, and we can fix a lot of the things that's within our community. If we can just align everything with one goal, and then everything else will fall into place. I really believe that. Thank you.
So I wholeheartedly agree with Turtle that natural resources is something that our tribe is founded on and that it's something that we should protect. And some of the ways to work on that is just fixing the structure within our system so that there is accountability. I think making sure that our own resolutions and codes and that our values are being followed when going about the process of protecting our rights and our resources. I just think about my grandfather. He was a commercial fisherman, and he used to talk about how there's so many fish that it looked like you could walk across the water on the backs of the fish. And one of the things Bill James talks about is never giving up on the salmon, because they will go away if we give up on them. And so part of that, again, is the structure for accountability. Aisha.
Thank you, Shasta and Victor. So as we discussed before the break, the next thing we're going to do is offer each candidate 2 minutes to talk about why they are running for council. We started at that end of the table last time, so we'll start at this end of the table this time. That's all right. So, okay, you're on, Stephen.
Like what Cheryl was saying earlier about finishing the work of our past leaders, and we want to continue the work on our hatchery work that we have, our natural resource work that's been going on, our hatchery stuff. We need to finish our HGMP so we can increase production for harvest for our fishermen. If we don't have that because of just went blank. Because of all the logging and stuff up in the hills and all the development in our community is taking a toll on our fish and our spawning grounds, and even the fish making it out of, if they make it out of the river, they won't survive in Bellingham Bay on working their way out. So to finish that work and to finish the work on the Tarot Code this year, things got stalled on that a few times, and it wasn't just things that happened in the community that caused that to slow down, but to create and to put our people to work through the Tarot Code is why we rewrote it. Even getting the training in there was a big thing, and upping the percentage of lummies that need to work. There's other tribal in there, spouses of other tribals, so all that stuff is in there, and it's to give them a livable wage and to hold those contractors to that. When you go after money, and we put a project out, and those wages are in that when you put a bid out for a job on what they need to pay, and you need to hold them to that. So just want to finish that work and continue to work with the rest of the council on all their important things.
Thank you. The other reason I would really like to express is my concern about our people. Our families are the most important things we have. Our togetherness and how we care for one another. All of our families come from these homelands. Our elders, our grandparents had deeds to these properties. We need to continue to have a complete realty department Right now, we have two people in realty, and that's India and Carol Lee. We used to have a gentleman, God bless his soul, Bill, who used to help people take their piece of property description, and he would help you. He would help you divide it up. He could write deeds, he could write land job descriptions of it. There was another fella, but bless his soul too, he passed away, Bob Brando. He would take that property and he would process it through the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Office of Special Trust. And you would get a deed for your property as you divided it up. And then we used to have Mr. Jefferson who would go out and survey your property, and he'd give that survey map dividing up the property so you could give it to your children, your grandchildren. That's gone. We used to have a lady, Tracy, doing wills. Your wills, you could actually will your property. So when you die, you're not going to lose your land to airship for the tribe to take later. And it really bothers me that this is not a priority to give our families divided up land and homes. We want our grandchildren to have a home, a happy home, not living in a cluster of homes when they have their own property that should be divided up. And I believe that when a family has a homeland and they're all secure, they become economically sustainable and surviving much better. I think the realty, the planning, the public works department, they all need to work together to give our people this essential government service. And I think thank you. I was just going to say we need seed money for our economic development through federal agencies. Thank you.
Thank you all once again for showing your care for your nation. Now you, the voter, have a choice to elect the next candidates. I have good ideas for Lummi that go along with our values as Lummi people. I'm willing to learn if I'm elected. If elected, I will make sure that the Lummi Nation has the best education the world has to offer. I will support education and get our Chesheshwapwalak initiative going again. It is a plan of our own self-determination and sovereignty from a Lummi's perspective that parallels no child gets left behind. A plan that goes from preschool to college. Our Lummi people, we have suffered so much in the past. It is not our fault we're addicted to drugs and alcohol. It comes from multi-generational trauma we suffered from the boarding schools. Lummi's journey to wellness is going to help our families through the addictions. Lummi's health and wellness, strengthening our community and our rallies against drugs and alcohol, standing up against drugs in our nation. Last but not least, youth prevention programs for our youth, having great leaders and mentors in our community that are showing our youth how to be good people. In our culture, our stories teach us how to be good people or to take the right path. With the next 7 generations in mind, I will protect our sovereignty, our treaty rights. I'm willing to listen to the most important voice, and that's your guys' voice. And I'm just so happy. Vote for happy. Let's keep the movement moving forward. Thank you for listening to my words.
I'm looking to continue to support the work that's laid out before us. You can tell that the work is shifting in our community. The treasurer has us looking at the 2017 budgets as we roll them out. She's done listening sessions with the community. We've been given direction by the people. So I encourage you to stay involved and monitor to make sure that the resources are going where you want them to go, to include prevention. You hear that over and over. And I look around and see a lot of the candidates that put their names in this go around. Continue to stay involved. Get on the boards and the commissions. That's how I was taught. I started at tribal school when my children went to tribal school, when an elder grabbed me by my hand and said, it's ready, it's time. And then you grow yourself through the system. And, our bureaucracy, as you heard a couple times here, to get things, and that's being addressed so that we have a fair, equitable process for our people. One of the things that near and dear to me was bringing our children home, back to our community. And it still makes me shake today that we have children out of our jurisdiction. And we have Ralph sitting here today that's going to have to have more support to bring our children home. But as Happy talks about prevention, it's so important to keep families together, to reunite them. As one of the young people I heard at the debates of when I was coming back from Seattle was to put the unity back in community. Rudy, that's a very powerful statement, and I'll remember that. And hold us accountable to that. That's very important to me, that this community is united, because we're going to make some tough decisions as the years come. The culture and the language and the teachings is so important. And when we continue to preserve, promote, and protect our shebang, that's the hope I continue to do. Thank you.
Leaders. Every family has a long line of leaders that have taken the tribe all the way up until now. And in my family, I have both my grandparents and my mother. My mother helps out the community so much. And I've learned through their teachings that at some point you're going to have to get up and do something for the people. And this is something that I have learned that I want to instill in my own son, and I want to continue through what I've already done, working for the tribe for the last 15 years, and promoting natural resources, promoting water, promoting our culture, advocating for our youth, and protecting our elders. So one of the main things that a lot of our tribe is all about, and I want to be able to be a part of that. I want to be able to be one of the people that continues this for generations to come. I wanted to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank everybody who's online with us tonight. And thank you very much.
Well, I've thought long and hard about this question of if I really did want to put my name in the hat again after serving this first term. And I've learned a lot, in terms of the last 3 years and what works in our legislative system with Senate. And also learned a lot about working together with community members and council. The reason I'm running is because I feel like I can bring something to the table in terms of what I've learned in the last 3 years, but being thoughtful and intentional and taking the advice of our elders and our young people. When I worked for Cedar Project, we talked about working with youth, not for them, and actually getting their voice. And I feel that the same goes for the community, is working with community, not just for them, but with them. And I think that I have a good grasp on navigating policy and administration, and I've enjoyed working with all the councils that we've had, that we've had a different turnover the last 3 years, but I know that we can always do better. And my hope is to come to the table and work more effectively with council so that we can work with community in an effective way. And one of the things that has been most meaningful to me is that I'm doing this with community because it shouldn't just be about one family or one department. We're all family. And I don't come from a big voting family. I feel like I'm indebted to everyone. And it's your choice if you're going to elect me again. And I am grateful for that and grateful for the opportunity that I did have to serve and asking for your reelection.
I think I was thinking too much over there. Yeah, if I was elected, I think the first 3-year term I had was very knowledgeable, very, but the biggest thing that I see on council is being accountable to the community. Once you have that, accountability is always the biggest thing. Always remembering what council is really about. It's the codes, it's the policies, it's the, what governs us as a sovereign nation. And, sometimes it seems like council's putting out fires, doing all this and that. Being accountable, I'm a doer, I love to do things, I'm a workaholic when it comes to being a commercial fisherman. I take myself, very seriously when it has to be, when I have a goal set, when there's something to do, and I have to be able to get it done. We're working very hardly on the judicial system at trying to do a restorative justice way. We have the evaluation, it's sitting there. We just have to pick it back up and run with it. And, that's one thing that was really passionate. I was really passionate about is trying to get this judicial system more of a restorative justice way of doing things for our people. And, there's just so many things I can keep rambling on. I think all of us can, what our heart's intent, everybody's here, and they put their work, their name in, and it's for a purpose. We have a full staff of council right now, so, be accountable. We all have to be accountable for a full staff paid council, so that accountability should be very strong.
Thanks, Johnny. I'm running for council, not for myself. When I first ran 3 years ago, I went out into the community and I did my homework and I visited families. I asked them first. I asked a lot of family leaders and elders to help guide me in that decision. And I was successful back then, and I hope to be successful again this year because I was able to start some working with the current council and the past council prior to that, my first and second year. And I think we've come a long ways. I think we've done some good work, but our downfall as a council is we failed our people by not reporting back to you. And I think if elected this year, that's going to be one of the goals, as well as the platform I initially ran on 3 years ago and the platform I'm running on today. I think we need to be held more accountable to reporting back to the people. When I ran 3 years ago, I was also a full-time crabber, fisherwoman. When I talked to my elders and my parents more so, I told them that I would give up the water to do this work for my people. And so I'm committed to doing the work with or without the pay. I can find work, even though I have to support myself. I believe that if elected, I will continue to be an ear for you and a voice on this side. I want to finish some of the goals that I've started. I'm real close to finishing, one being the exclusion code, the realignment of our judicial system to support restorative justice and helping our people. Help me to help you guys. Elect Joseph. Love you.
All right, so now comes the community real participation. We're gonna have some impromptu community questions. We started on this end, so now we'll start on the other end. Julie and Johnny, so we'll have one question from the community for each set of candidates. The first person that gets to ask a question is Lorraine Dennis. The next person, so be ready, is going to be Richard Solomon. So Lorraine, what is your question for Johnny and Julie?
My question is, so a priority has been set on drugs, education, natural resources, economic development, wellness, and judicial system. And the last 2 days, we had an hearing discussion on homelessness. As the program director for Home Victims of Crime and the former shelter manager, in this last week, we had to turn away 10 women and 4 kids because we don't have no room. So if elected as a council member, how will you work as a team, and I emphasize team, to address this issue of homelessness?
Julie, are we gonna do the 2, 2, and 1 again? Yep, so whoever goes first gets to have a 1 minute rebuttal as well. Same as we've been doing.
Repeat that again? We do have a very good housing department. She's won records, but not that in general. I think it's like you say, there's so many homelessness out there, and it's in all of our families. But I think as a councilman, is that we go back to DC and we lobby and we look for other areas of funding, through the federal government. And I had the honor to go back with Henry, and we went in there, and then he was just asking questions. Is there any money? Is there any money for our housing? For HUD, for anything? And we do have some new houses coming up, and those are prevention homes. So I think there's a lot of good work the council's already did. But to be proactive in everything, I think it's just that you have to go out and hit the road to find the money, to find the access to build more homes, to build apartments, to build all these things. And with the HUD, the biggest thing that was going on this last for a while is the drug testing, and you hear that in the big picture. How why are we kicking our people to the street? Why are we doing all this? They're homeless. So how do you break past all that? How do you I know there's HUD rules, there's HUD, all these different rules and regulations when you start taking federal money. As a sovereign nation, we have to abide by those rules based upon that it's a grant. It's money that we get from the federal government that provides these homes. But I think just hitting the pavement and finding ways to find.
Thank you, Johnny. If elected or re-elected back to council, I think the first and foremost that we would have to do as a team is to come up with a plan which would coincide with the public health plan that Cheryl mentioned earlier. Homelessness starts because of an issue that has arisen amongst our people, whether it be bad choices revolving around drugs and alcohol, abuse, domestic violence, children being taken away, giving up on life. We got to get to the core of the problem. We got to get deep down inside our people and begin the healing so that they can live healthy lifestyles, uniting the families back together. It's sad to see the homelessness out here. We're not alone. It's all over our county. It's in Seattle. It's in every city. So I think if we can help heal our people, then we can begin to work with them to build skills up to be self-sufficient and employable, united with their families again. I heard earlier today that, a lot of these issues start in the home. We got to get back to our traditional values of our families, pulling together, working with our kids, teaching them traditions and culture so that our people don't get to this point in their life where they hit their rock bottoms and they end up being homeless. It hurts me to see that. Not just here, everywhere. In my travels, I've seen it in a lot of places. So I think that we gotta work on healing our people so that they don't become homeless. We just gotta keep expanding on that.
Thank you, Julie. She put some, very valuable points on there, and she's right. With homelessness, and but with homelessness, there's other factors in it, but creating those jobs, creating those things, creating things that that will get our people out there to sustain their own places to live, and being proactive, not enabling, but just helping, putting the hand out there and say, hey, we have these programs, we got these areas to help with, and it's just it's hard, it's hard to try to just tell people, no, hey, we don't have a place where you live, and and it's a difficult situation that the government's in, and then this is a really good question. But anyway.
Thank you, Julie and Johnny. So next is going to be Shasta and Victor. Richard Solomon has a question for them, and then next on deck is going to be Arlene George.
Good evening. Question I have. How are you going to fill this room? Tribal people. How are you going to get their attention? 2/3 of our people are outside this room, our homes. You got to get their attention somehow. How are you going to do that if you're elected? How will you get the services back to the people? how do they get their attention? There's 5,000, 6,000 tribal members. 600-700 vote. How do you get their attention? To have them come in this room, come in our sacred house. Culture is very important to us. Services, sir. You know, many of the people, they won't even come. We have our fishermen come to our fishermen meeting, and we do the general council. Fishermen are hard-working people. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Richard, I want to thank you for that question. It's a very, very important thing to have everyone come here and attend. This is one of the things that is very difficult for the tribe to do right now, is to fill a room. One of the things that I can only think about is, what would my grandfather do? What has my grandfather done? He was a very vocal person who would go out to the community and tell everybody what is going on and bring them out to the people. So this is one to bring everybody in here. You have to go out and boots on the ground. You have to go out there and start promoting our culture. You have to start promoting who we are. And these are one of the things that's not going to happen overnight, but this is one of the things that we can do as a people, is go door to door. We have to make sure that we make all of these issues a priority to the people. When I was talking to my Uncle Penny, when I ran against Steamer 3 years ago, one of the things he said is everyone was very interested in what the tribe was up to. Everyone would go to the gym to vote. These are things that I have been thinking about the last 3 years. How do we get the tribe interested in these things? And we also have to find these things that affect everybody and bring them all here. And that one of the ways you can do that is you got to go to everybody's door and try and get them. You have to educate them on what is going on in the tribe. A lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's the only way you're going to be able to do something like this. Thank you again.
Thank you for the question. I think that sitting with people and talking to them, I feel like the general council feels hopeless. And that's one of the reasons that they don't attend general council meetings, because we're not reporting back. Did you take our advice? What worked? What didn't work? So if you don't feel like your voice is being heard, you kind of give up on showing up. And with the fishermen, they show up, they have a voice, they can change the direction, and they know their voice is being heard. And that's very different from the structure and setup of our general council meetings. You know, if we could change the structure with your permission, I think that we could change it so that people feel heard, that we're not hearing the same voices and not getting a report back from council. I think that would be one thing that would help fill a room, and also educating. Just in this process and the time of working with young people, I've been to the Lummi Nation School to help educate them on how does general counsel work? How does council work? Do you know the term limits? Do you know how often voting happens? Do you understand the Constitution and our codes? Educating our young people so that they know what to expect coming in here and having an input for our general counsel. And I also think it does matter how you treat people. We hear a lot that people don't feel welcomed, invited, and treated well within our programs, you know, with LIBC, or even here at General Counsel. And I think how we treat people is really why we need to take culture into consideration. A lot of the cultural people I know don't want to come and get involved in politics because they don't see any good coming from it. And using our culture in a positive and good way. Hi, Shika.
I think one of the things that I kind of rushed over in my answer is knowing who your community is and knowing what issues would bring everybody to the table would help get everybody here. These are what some of the things that everybody is concerned about. You know which families would be able to understand and help or give really good feedback to what the community needs. I think that's one of the things that we are missing is this interaction with the community. Everybody up here is just a part of the community, and they should be approachable. Everybody should be, all the council members should be approachable. And so you have to be able to come up to your council member and tell them what is going wrong. And then these council members should be able to remember that and go back out to the community and tell you when these issues are coming up, not just during election time.
Richard, that was an excellent question. How do we get participation, right? I remember being at general council meetings and you can't get 25 people there. There's over 5,000 of us. That means it's less than half of 1% of the members, and we can't get that many people to be interested and come back. It was a powerful question. Haishka. So next, for Cheryl Sanders and I keep on calling him Happy, for Lawrence Solomon. Arlene George was next. She didn't want to get up and speak, so she wrote her question down. Oh, and next on deck is Irene Thomas. She'll get the last question. Let's smile that way. Go ahead, you can. So for Cheryl and Lawrence, Arlene wants to ask, will you support Lummi Tribal scholarships for our tribal youth to attend Northwest Indian College and other colleges so tribal youth can earn degrees in nursing programs and other fields? Do you support and will you work to do fundraisers and support donations from departments for scholarships? As a person who came out of school with like $80,000 in debt, I really want to hear the answer to this. I'll leave the question up here for you guys.
Yes, I will support scholarships for our tribal youth to attend Northwest Indian College. Northwest Indian College, I'm a graduate from Northwest Indian College. I graduated with high honors with an associates in arts and sciences. And the bill after we're done with college, you know, is for some people that don't get the support that I did. I got the MGI bill, but I understand the struggle that it is for our students to even just to go through college. There's the dorm rooms, you gotta pay for your classes, you gotta pay for your books. That's why I would support scholarships for our Lummi youth to go to Northwest Indy College. I really wanna encourage any youth that's interested in going to college to go. Because when I went to college so I could give back to my community. And this is what I'm doing here today. I want to give back to my community. And so I really support this. And there's another part to the question. Yes, nursing programs in other fields are important. You know, we want to educate all of our students, whatever their interests are in, that's where they should go. And not to put them in any program that's not suitable for them. Do you support and will you work to do fundraisers and support donations from departments for scholarships? Yes, I will. The thing I try to teach our youth is when they want to do something like the canoe journey or anything like that, I really encourage them to go out there and put the work in. You know, get down, get to work. So I really would support this, and I would really want to help students get through college. Hashkasin.
Thank you, Arlene, for the question. I know you have a granddaughter that's going to nursing school. I got to talk to her this summer. As a nurse, I'm so proud that we are educating our children in healthcare. And it's very expensive today. Some of you know, and I'm very proud of this, that we have our own Lummi physician, Dakota Lane, Dr. Lane. That's a really, I'm so proud of that. When I do my work to promote healthcare, I always promote our Northwest Indian College. You know, it's a good, you know, our children don't like to leave the reservation, and that's okay. But the Northwest Indian College will give you the tools to move on, especially in nursing field. You can take your classes here, and then you go on to the four-year college. And I wonder, you know, I'm not too old, but I'm the elder on this current council, and I've been talking to a lot of people about scholarships. When I went to college, I don't know how I did it, because the tribe helped me, you know. And so I don't know when we changed to where it became unequitable to a lot of people. But I will always support any of our children going into the healthcare field. And that's one thing that we haven't done very well. And as Indian people, there's huge gaps in the healthcare field. And so I hope the next council takes a look at the capacity building in promoting nurses, doctors, mid-levels, the DHATs, all these different mid-level programs for our community. And I will support them any way they can by fundraising, donations, setting up systems within our organization to sponsor our children. And I know that we have a lot of great people wanting to continue on. One of my good friends, she started here as a nurse, and she battled some of the tribal politics, and now she's a commander in the Indian Health Service. And she's always accessible to our children that want to go into the nursing field. And I will support anyone I can. And Arlene, I'll talk to you and help you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. There's a couple programs here in Lummi, and it's called the Lummi Higher Education Program. And that's something that really helped me when I was going through school. So maybe finding more grants for our students, like Lummi Higher Education, so we could help our students get through college. And it is an important field. The healthcare field is very important for our people. We want to have our own people working in our Indian health services, in our own clinic. We want to have our own people in there. And I just want to say how important it is to continue on with your education. And I plan on continuing my education And, because it's very important for our people to bring it back here and, give back to the community. Acho que sim.
Thank you, Cheryl and Lawrence. And the final question for Sherry and Stephen will come from Irene Thomas. Got a
I heard a lot of really good questions asked here tonight. They gave a lot of really good answers. But the one thing that none of them talked about was our governing document, our Constitution. The Constitution, as it's written today, says that our council, general council, may only recommend to LIBC. This is what, in my opinion, has created a lot of distance between our general council and LIBC. We can talk to them until we're blue in the face to tell them what we want from them, what we expect from them, what we demand from them. But in the end, they only do what they want, whatever their decision is. That's why our people continue to feel discouraged. Our people continue to feel ignored by our council year after year after year. Years ago, when we would have our general council meetings, we would elect from the people that were present that day who was going to be the chairperson. Now, even our general council meetings belong to them, not us. So my question to each and every one of them, as you're sitting here listening to me today, do you believe that general council's voice should be heard and listened to while you're sitting on that council? Or will you continue to ignore it the way it's been in the past, the way it is today? Why your people are so discouraged with our council? Are you listening to your people? Do you represent 5,000 members? Or just do the 11 of you control the whole tribe with your own thinking? Your hearts have to be with the people at all times. I sit on the Constitution Amendment Committee right now, hoping to change our Constitution to give the power back to the people. So I want to know how you guys feel about giving the power back to the people.
Steven's up first this time.
Thank you for the question, Irene. When I sit up here 6 years ago, I said I would sit up here humbly and listen to our people and still hear the words of my late Uncle Vernon, my late Auntie Violet, and to live by my values that my mother and father taught me. To stick up for myself, to stand up to wrongdoings, to stand up for people that couldn't fight back. So when I sit up here and I watch what's going on in our government and do the right thing, try to do the right thing, or say what needs to happen to recognize what's wrong. And the assets that we have to protect, the jurisdiction that we have to protect, the sovereignty that we have to protect. I've seen that in the 6 years, the fight, but the fight's got to the 11 that are sitting at that table. There's 11 people, especially when it's treaty rights, jurisdiction, and sovereignty. Not one can make that decision for us. So I sit there and I push because I want our programs to do the right thing. I want our managers, our directors to do the right thing. Sherry said it best the first time I made it on council 6 years ago, that we get voted off every 3 years, but our directors can stay here and do whatever they want without any change. I remember those words when she shared that. And I pushed on that. It's about being honest and doing the right thing and being transparent to our community. Like you said, there's only been 25, sometimes not even enough to make it happen. Thank you.
I told Steve the best is for last. Thank you, Irene. That's a wonderful question. I think that the Loving Constitution deserves a huge, huge attention. It's an attention grabber. I mentioned before, Dad was on the Constitution Committee forever to make changes. Not one change ever got passed by the council. And it goes back what you said. Those councilmen were controlling that council. They weren't listening to the Constitution Committee to change it. And to think of some of our elders that fought the World War II, that fought the Korean War, that saw our peoples in dire poverty. If they changed our Constitution with those amendments back then, we'd be way better off right now. And we have a Constitution Committee now that needs to change it. And I myself had a firsthand view. My husband, Dean Williams, sued one of the councilmen, Williams versus Green. The general council has a say. And you know that first court round, the judge ruled that the general council has a say over the council. The council appealed the case. And so the council took the general council back to court and the council won. The general council has no say. The people that are elected by the general council won, they win. And that's the way it is today. And so I have all those records at my house because it was Williams versus Green. Now, voice heard and listened to. Let me say that 3 times I was treasurer on the council. Anybody could walk into my office and say, I want to know what's going on with this program. Especially Mr. George would come in and say, I want to know where all that GUI duck money is going. I say, sit down. Click, click, click. Print it out. There's where all your GUI duck money is revenue expenses. There it is. And he was happy. I let anybody know where this tribal money goes. It is the people's money, and they need to know what is the return on their investment in these council that govern your people. So, thank you, Irene. I really like that question.
No rebuttal.
Thank you, Irene, for a great final question. Thank you to our candidates. More importantly, Aishka Siam, to each one of you that are here. It's been a long evening, but I think it's been worthwhile. We've educated people sitting up here, people with honor, people with integrity. Unfortunately, only 4 of them get to make it through and onto council, but you get to decide. There is limited power for the general council, but this is the most important thing that ever happens in our communities, to elect our leaders, and you get to say that. But I want to say to the will want to be leaders. I think Irene answered Richard's question, didn't she? How do you get them back here? You give the power back to the people. And you're also right, the Constitution doesn't let that happen. Because the Constitution, modeled after the US Constitution, protects the individual and the government. We need to rewrite our Constitution. Our Constitution needs to protect our way of life. That's it. Ask yourself, what's important to Lummi? Those words better be in that Constitution. Our values, not the white people's values. And so those are on the committee, and those will be on council. That's probably the most important work that will happen in the next 3 years, is rewriting that Constitution. If I would have been appointed to the committee, we'd throw the whole darn thing out.
Anything else is open to anybody who wants to attend.
We'll be starting.
Every other Wednesday. We'll meet next Wednesday, 2 o'clock, for Sean conference room.
So if you want to have your say,
Show up.
go meet with Irene. Thank you, Irene. All right. Aishka, to everyone for coming. Please show up with the ballot box 2 Saturdays from now. Get all of your family members. Aishka, see you. We have a found key. Anybody, if you get to your car, you can't make your car go, maybe this is yours. Absentee balloting will start on Monday at the enrollment office. I quit, Jesse.